From the previous video, because I didn't show you the output, so then let's see from the example 13. So then we have the array either the vector display either from the beginning or from the reverse order. By either one, we will pass in the vector by the constant reference. So in the example, we show you how to using a for loop and also how to use the square bracket to access the element from the vector one by one, just like array. So the beginning, we have the show values from beginning to the end from the vector. Your index will start from 0 and the last and the size. Then you will have increment your index one by one. But when you do the reverse value, you will start from the size minus 1. Then the count should be greater or equal to 0 is the condition. Then the index will be decrement by 1. So that's why here, when we have these two functions ready, in the main function, if I have a vector from 10 to 100, so you can see the first thing we display in the from to the end order. So then the second one, we do the reverse order. So then when we run the program, then you will see the output like this. So that's our example 13. So from the example 13, we show you not only how to pass in the vector by reference through the function, we also show you how to using the square bracket to traverse vector element one by one using a for loop. But continue with that. This video also we will show you some other very useful member function from the vector. So earlier we know the vector can do the square bracket. And also the vector can do the add parenthesis I. So this member function we call the add function. Actually, they are doing very similar to the square bracket, but they're using the add parenthesis I. So that's a member function. So that's why you can see here, we can replace this one from the square bracket earlier we used. So then you can see here, we can just continue to using the example 13. So example 13, you will see here, right? I'm using the square bracket, but also I can using the add parenthesis I. So this add parenthesis I actually is a member, but when you're using the add, they are a member function. So you don't using the square bracket, you use the parenthesis. So here I just keep both because this one from the array start from beginning to the end to display, we're using the add. So the reverse, I just still using the square bracket. So you will see they work similarly. So then you see we run the program. Okay, so they display still from beginning to the end or the reverse order. So this one is the member function add. They work similarly like the square bracket. So that's one member function from the vector. So that you have couple different choice how you want to traverse the element from the vector one by one. So then actually we have the size parenthesis for the size member function. The size just means so far how many elements in the vector. But also we have another member function called capacity. So capacity usually we don't use that much, but if you want, you can return the capacity member function. So then they can show you the maximum number element from the array can be stored if you don't want to resize your data. So you can do that. Or you can see here they have resize. If you want, you can tell the vector how many elements I want you to add more. So then, for example, they will resize the vector so they can contain n more elements. So you can see here, the n is the new size you have. So then the resize, you have two arguments. The first one is how many elements you will have. So then the second one is your default, is your value for the new element. So that's why you can see here, if I do the resize 5 and 0, so then here I will change my vector become size 5. So then the default value will be 0. Okay, so then we can try to do here the same thing. We see how to use the resize function. So after we have the vector value like 10 to 100, right? So how about we using the values dot resize. So earlier, so here we have 10 element. So how about we change to 20 element? So all the value are using 15. That's originally our values vector, we have 10 elements, right? So when we do the resize, actually mean we just resize from 10 to 15. So then actually, since we already have 10, so then if I have more element, the new element, I just make the value equal to 200. So that's the resize. So let me correct the resize member function. So the resize member function for the vector, actually they will contain total n element. So then the total element n if greater than the original one, so then the new element you added, they will initialize to the values. So initialize to 0. Okay, so then we will see here the example. Originally we have 10 element. So then I resize to 15. But since I already have 10, right? So then when I resize to 15, so then we'll have 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 elements. They are new elements. So then I will give them the new value is 200. So then the same thing we can display again, so we can see how the array content changed. So then you can see, right, the first 10, they display 10 to 100. So then because we add 5 more, because total is 15, so then they will fill out the element value is 200. So then when we do the reverse display, they will do like this. So that's the resize. So that's a couple more useful member function we have. So for the swap function, you can exchange the content of two vectors. So far we don't need that. So that's our introduction about the vector from the STL library.